What if your worst pain wasn't random? What if the loss, the struggle, the unanswered prayers were all allowed for a reason you couldn't see? There was a man in the Bible who faced this exact reality. A man who lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health. Not because he was evil, not because he made a mistake, but because he was righteous. His name was Job, and what makes his story even more unsettling is that his suffering didn't begin on earth. It began in heaven, because one day Satan stood before God and questioned Job's loyalty. And instead of stopping him, God allowed the test. So the question we must ask is, why would a good God allow a faithful man to suffer? Job was not an ordinary man. He was described as blameless, upright, and someone who feared God and avoided evil. He had wealth, he had influence, he had a loving family. From the outside, his life looked perfect. But what made Job truly unique wasn't what he had. It was who he was. He was faithful, even when no one was watching, and that kind of faith caught heaven's attention. But it also caught someone else's attention. In a single day, Job loses everything. His livestock is stolen, his servants are killed, his children die in a tragic collapse, and as if that wasn't enough, his health is struck. Painful sores cover his entire body. This is not small suffering. This is complete devastation. And yet in the middle of it all, Job says something powerful. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. No anger, no accusation, just faith. But the story doesn't end there. Because the real battle is just beginning. As Job sits in pain, his friends come to him. But instead of comfort, they bring judgment. They assume, you must have done something wrong. God wouldn't allow this without a reason. And this reflects a belief many people still hold today, that suffering is always punishment. But Job knows something they don't. He knows he did not deserve this. And so he begins to ask deeper questions. Why is this happening? Why is God silent? Why does the righteous suffer? These are not just Job's questions. They are our questions. For a long time, God says nothing. And that silence is heavy, because sometimes the hardest part of suffering is not the pain. It's not understanding why, but then God finally speaks, not with a direct answer, but with a series of questions. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? God reveals something powerful. There is a bigger picture Job cannot see. Not everything can be explained in human terms. Not every reason will be revealed, but that doesn't mean there is no purpose. In the end, Job's story takes a turn. His life is restored. His blessings return greater than before. But the real victory is not in what he regained. It's in what he never lost. His faith. So why did God allow Satan to test Job? Not to destroy him, but to reveal something deeper. That true faith is not based on blessings. It is built on trust, even in pain. So here's the question. If your faith was tested like Job's, would it still stand? Or does our faith depend on everything going right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Because this isn't just Job's story, it's a reflection of how we respond when life doesn't make sense.